Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video I am reviewing a new Adept Cosmetics palette that I am thrilled about. Okay, it has the potential, I think, just looking at the color story, to become probably one of my favorite Adept Cosmetics palettes, and that is if it performs well. I have a love-like relationship with Adept Cosmetics. Some things they do are fabulous. I love their shimmers, their duochromes and multi-chrome shades, but sometimes their matte eyeshadows can be a little tricky and not perform as well as I want them to. So I don't always give them a good review. Last year, out of the few Adept Cosmetics palettes I tried, which might have been 3, I think, 2 of them got an okay review from me, and then I really loved the Amy Loves collaboration palette. I think it was one of my top 10 palettes, if not my top 5 palettes of the year last year. And this palette I'm about to talk about today, just looking at the color story, I think I'm going to love, but it has to actually have a good performance as far as the mattes are concerned, because it does have quite a lot of mattes in there. I'm going to shut up and just show you it. It's the new Minka palette, and they changed their packaging too. There's a lot of new things, okay, happening in this video. So let me just show you the packaging. This is the new Adept Cosmetics Minka palette, and as you can see, the palette is very unlike their previous palettes. Like, they used to have this faux leather stitched feel. Or check out these right here. These are actually the ones I tried last year. Didn't love these, loved the Amy one. So here's what they used to look like. Prior to that, they used to look like this right here, with a different setup on the shades. I actually already have a Minka palette from them, which I want to pull out and show you. Here's their previous Minka palette, and here's what it looks like on the inside. This being one of my all-time favorite holiday palettes. It's got chunky glitter shades that just scream holiday season, and the 2 mattes in here are good. I have obsessed over this Minka palette for years, especially around holiday time. I've recommended it time and time again. And so anyways, their new Adept Cosmetics palette, going back to packaging, is a plastic packaging. This looks a lot like Natasha Denona packaging. Here it is compared to the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette, for instance. It's slightly bigger than the Natasha Denona one. It's also a little longer. Actually, this is the best way I can show you. See how you can see the Adept one? A little here, a little here. That's how much bigger than the Natasha Denona palettes it is. Barely perceptible. And it has a plastic container like Natasha does. Let me show you the inside of this palette, which I am super excited about because it looks so beautiful. Again, this is their new Minka palette. Check out this color story, you guys. I'm obsessed. Okay, take a look at how the shades shift. It's a beautiful purpley inspired color story with these fantastic looking shifty shimmer shades. You guys know I am a sucker for like mauvey purple shades, and that is exactly what every single one of these mattes looks like. Are you as excited as I am? I have not touched this palette. I cannot wait to swatch it, and if the matte shades don't disappoint me, I think I'm going to absolutely love it. If you're interested in this, by the way, I have a 10% discount code with Adept Cosmetics. The code is PATTY10, in case you want to save some money on your Minka palette if we end up liking it, if we end up being interested in it. And I am looking at the shades now, and shades like Ava and Maya, I believe, remind me of shades from this Minka palette. So I'm wondering how many shades are repeated. Ava looks very similar to the Ava in this Minka palette, but we're going to compare them side by side and see. I think there's a slight undertone difference. However, the shade Maya looks nothing like the Maya in here, because this Maya is pink and this Maya is more of a champagne color. Toya and Maria are the 2 mattes from this palette, and they are repeated here. Toya and Maria. I'll compare the shades that are named the same side by side at the end of the video. There's a lot more mattes in here, which I'm excited about, and there's different shimmers as well that are not repeated in this palette. I also have 2 new Adept Cosmetics glosses they sent over in shades Shady Sand and Nude Beige. This gloss packaging is glass, very fancy. And without further ado, let's go ahead and swatch these shades. Here's Eliza, Anna, Emma, Toya. So far things look promising. You guys, did you see how super pigmented and glidey those shimmers are? I'm drooling over here. Here are the next 4 shades. Maya, Dana, Joshua, and Alana. There, I went over the mattes one more time. The mattes are actually swatching pretty good. Here are the next 4 shades. This one is a whole party in one color. It has multicolor shimmers in there. And that is the shade Clara. Then we have Mia, Maria, and then Maria right here. This is like the purple palette that Natasha Denona didn't give me. I'm so excited about it. And then here are the last 3 shades, which look spectacular. We have Sandra, which is so good. This one reminds me of a shade in the Amy Loves palette, so I'll compare it to that one later. Ariana and Ava. So good. Going over Ariana one more time, and here are the swatches, you guys. I'm very impressed with this palette. The mattes are swatching really nicely, and I love the color of the mattes. And then, I mean, the shifty shimmers are exactly what I was expecting. I'm beyond excited. I'm going to begin by using the shade Toya here on a refer number 15 as my transition shade, of course. And so I'm just going to back and forth blend it. It's blending very nicely. Adding a little more to the outer third. Somebody asked me the other day in a video why we put shades over shades over shades when we're building an eyeshadow look. And the reason why we do this, in case anybody else is wondering, is so that we get a nice fade, right? Whenever we add more shades onto an eyeshadow look, yes, I might be covering this shade with the next one, but there's always a little that remains above because every time I go a little bit lower with my blending brush, and so it creates this fade from an intense matte color into a very light color like this one I have on right now, which blends into the skin. And that blend is what creates that smoky eye effect, and it creates an eye look that looks balanced and not patchy, with no harshness in it. That's what we strive to do anyways. So I'm going to add another shade, a little darker of a shade. I'm going to add Elana right here over top, kind of, but not really, of the previous shade I added, because I'm not going as high as I first did. I'm blending Elana into the shade Toya, which was the first one I applied. Adding a bit more Elana to the outer third and just making sure the colors blend nicely into one another. And I'm still using the refer number 15 brush. I'm going to add a little more right here in the center. The mattes so far are performing really nicely, and I keep checking on them because the mattes are, I believe, what sometimes is tricky when it comes to Adept Cosmetics, but these mattes are so good so far. Let's see if the darker mattes are just as good. I'm going to use the shade Ariana here. On a refer number 1, I changed my blending brush to a smaller, more pinched blending brush, and I'm first going to tap Ariana on the outer third of the eyelid. And after I have it as intense as I want it, I'm turning my brush upwards, and with the tip of it, very light pressure, I'm going to simply diffuse that shade into my previous matte colors. Just blending it upwards a bit and then inwards around halfway. And so the goal is for you to see Ariana, but then peeking behind Ariana and towards the front you see Alana, and then peeking all the way at the top you see the shade Toya as well. And so that should create that blown out smooth effect when it comes to your smoky eye. With the Shoto 02, I'm going to grab a bit more Ariana and I'm going to blend it right underneath my lower lash line, around a third of the way inwards, back here. And then with Ilana, I'm going to smoke out Ariana, and I'm bringing Ilana all the way to my tear duct area. I feel like I can already tell you I'm going to absolutely love this palette. I will try the other 3 mattes, of course, doing a different eyeshadow look, but I already know I love the shimmers because the shimmers from Adept Cosmetics never disappoint, and these mattes are fantastic, so I love it. I can already tell you I love it. I just realized the mistake I made when I was swatching. Linda was not mentioned. I called it Clara, I think, right? I'm going to use the shade Linda next with my finger. This is that one that has all of the multicolored sparkles in it. And I'm going to tap it right over, but not all the way to the end, but over the shade Ariana on the eyelid, and then tap it forward so that it covers up until around the center of the eyelid. Ooh, that is beautiful. With a Refer number 2 flat brush, I want to grab, I think I'm gonna do Maya, make things a little more pink, a little more fun. So I'm going to tap Maya on the inner third of the eyelid. And I'm also tapping it over my multi-sparkly shade so that they blend into one another. Once again, we're trying to create that cohesiveness. We don't want to see where a color stops and the other one starts. We want everything to just blend together nicely. So I'm tapping Maya right here. And then all the way in the inner corner, I need a smaller flat brush. This is Refer's number 28. And then I'm going to grab a very light shade. I think Eliza here, with a very small flat brush. And then I'm going to add this shade on the inner most corner of the eye, and I'm bringing it in through the crease around a third of the way in so that it makes my eyelid a bit more defined right there. Tell me that isn't an absolutely stunning eyeshadow look. I love it. This looks so good. I know I'm obsessed is overused, but I'm obsessed. Before I show you the finished look with some eyeliner and lashes, I'm going to create look number 2 over here. To begin look number 2, I'm going to use the shade Dana, and with a Refer number 15 or your favorite big fluffy blending brush, we are going to swipe Dana all across the crease, just back and forth, so that it becomes our transition shade. I'm going to grab the shade Alana next. And with it, I'm going to define my lower lash line and connect it to the top right here. One more time using the shade Ilana with a very small blending brush. So with my Refer number 1, I'm going to grab Ilana as well. And I'm going to turn it upwards and blend Ilana into the color Dana. And I'm going around 2/3 of the way into the crease. Back with the big blending brush just to make sure there's no harsh edges. I'm actually going to blend Ilana all the way to the tear duct area with my small blending brush. Refer number 3, which is a small pencil brush, and the shade Maria, which is the only matte I have yet to use, and it is a dark purple matte, which is kind of tricky to make, so we'll see. I'm going to start by smudging my lower lash line with it. And once again, I'm going to connect it to my crease. And then back with this super tiny blending brush and a little more Maria. This is a Shoto 02. I'm going to intensify the crease once again. It's blending nicely. It's definitely not looking patchy or anything. I am thrilled with this palette. I'm so happy with it. Back with my big blending brush just to make sure everything marries each other nicely. That looks so good. Just gonna finish up the under eye with more Dana. Or is it Dana? Dana? So with that shade, I'm just going to smoke out my lower lash line. I'm going to grab the shade Ava, which is this pewter, super reflective color. And with my finger, I'm just going to tap it. Ooh, it went too far. I went too far. No! It went over the matte and I did not want that to happen. So let's see if I can fix it. Okay, I was definitely not careful with that one. I think I fixed it. I'm using a little bit more of the shade Maria, just over the edge back there. That's what I wanted it to look like. So I'm going to follow the pewter up with some silver, and I'm going to use the shade Sandra next, right on the center of my eyelid. This one's not as sparkly. It's more like a foiled metallic super silvery shade, and I love it. Make sure to tap it over the pewter just slightly. Okay, what else? What else? Maybe Joshua, maybe Mia. Joshua? I think we're going with Mia for this one. So I'm going to grab the shade Mia with a reference number 2 and add it to the inner third of the eyelid, blending it into my previous shade Sandra, defining the eyelid with it and stamping it on the inner corner. This puff actually just took away the fallout very nicely. In case that happens to you, I was able to take it off. And so before any eyeliner or false lashes, this is the finished second look. It looks so good. I just used a light purple ColourPop eyeliner for the waterline under both eye looks. And we have to do some Ardell Wispies. Back with the lashes on, I also put on some blush and something on the lips. On the lips, I have Deep Taupe lip liner from Anastasia, and I added this lip gloss from Adept in the shade Nude Beige, which is beautiful. And most importantly, not sticky. That's all I care about when it comes to a lip gloss. It can't be sticky. Everything I have on my face is of course listed and linked down below in the description box. And so let me show you the finished looks. Here is the finished first look with this palette. Nice and smoky with the multicolor sparkles. Glorious. So pretty. Very impressed with the matte shades in this Minka palette. They all performed amazingly. I am going to do one more look, but I can already tell you this palette is highly, highly recommended from me. I just doubt that something else can come around this year that can top this release, because I'm that obsessed with the color story, the performance of the mattes, and then Adept just has superior shimmers and multi-chromes and shifty shades, so I already knew that those were exceptional. I love, love, love. I'm going to take these eye looks off and we will create a third and last look. I'm back. As you can see, I took my eye makeup off. I left the purple eyeliner in the waterline, and I have created the third and last look on this eye. So we're going to recreate it over here. I started with the shade Toya here, and this was the color I applied all throughout the crease of my eye as my transition shade. The goal for this one was to make it a little lighter, a little more airy. I ended up going into one of the dark matte shades at the end because it was a little too light for the dark shimmer on the outer third of the eyelid, but I feel like it's still lighter than the other two looks I created, right? And we are going to darken that up with Elena. And I'm tapping Elena on the outer third of the eyelid and blending that color into the crease of my eye with the tip of my reference number 1 brush. Underneath the eye, I pretty much use the same two shades with a reference number 3 or a pencil brush. I smoke things out with the shade Elena right underneath my lower lash line. And I'm smoking that out with the shade Toya, back and forth blending all the way to my tear duct area. I wanted to leave the mattes at this when I first did it, but I ended up darkening it, so you'll see why at the end. Really loving the way this looks though. I'm going to grab the shade Anna here, and this is the reason I had to darken things up a bit, because it is a bit too dark for this light matte. I had to darken things up a bit, but I did tap Anna over the edge of the matte and inwards, kind of halfway through the lid. So then I went back with a very small blending brush and a tiny bit of the shade Ariana, and just blended a bit of Ariana over the outer third of the eyelid. With a small shader brush and the shade Joshua here, I added more color to the eyelid by tapping Joshua all throughout the center of the eyelid and inwards, just leaving a little space for the innermost corner of the eye. And then with that same shader brush and the color Mia down here, I completed the look by adding that color to the innermost corner, just tapping and swiping it inwards. And I always like to define the inner third of the eyelid with the lightest color I use, so I'm bringing it in. And just like that, this is the finished third look before lashes. Back with the lashes on, I also reapplied the same gloss I had on earlier on top of a lighter lip liner. This is the So Juicy lip liner from ColourPop in the shade Love That. Love this combo. And so this right here is the third and final eyeshadow look with this Adept Cosmetics eyeshadow palette, the new Minka, the Reimagined Minka palette. I'm obsessed, okay? It is an incredible palette in my opinion. Let's do some quick comparisons. Here is the glam shade from the Amy palette that I wanted to compare to Sandra, which already touching it, it is not the same consistency at all. The glam shade from the Amy Loves palette continues to be undefeated. I can tell you without swatching it. Glam shade from Amy and then Sandra. And here is their difference right there. Honestly, didn't even realize that the glam shade from the Amy palette was that pink. And you can totally see a huge difference in comparison to the Sandra shade. The glam shade from the Amy palette feels different from any other shade, honestly. So now that I compared those, I also want to compare the shades that have the same names between the new Minka and the old Minka palette. I'm going to start with the shade Emma and Emma. They feel different. Emma from the old Minka feels a little more gritty, like it's chunkier. So here's Emma from the original Minka and the new Emma. As you can see, slightly different, and the old Emma does look a bit chunkier. Very similar shades though. Let's do Maya next. And Maya. And these are very different because the new Maya is pink and the old Maya was more like a champagne shade or silvery champagne maybe. Old Maya, new Maya. Ooh, I skipped Ava and Ava. These look very similar. Old Ava, new Ava. Take a look right there. Pretty similar. Look at the difference on my finger though. Old Ava, new Ava. The new one seems to go a longer way. One more shimmer left, and that is Linda. I think the new Linda is better. I haven't compared them, but I'm pretty sure the new Linda is better because I feel like I can see it more. Like the multicolored sparkles are more visible. Old Linda, new Linda. So you can see the multicolored sparkles better on the new one because they're a little chunkier. And then the matte, we have Toya and Maria. Toya and Maria. You can see that Toya looks a bit more smooth. Toya and Toya. See, the new Toya, a little more visible, even though I didn't hate the old Toya. Maria, new Maria. Old Maria. This one I think looks smoother on the blend out, the new Maria versus the old one. And the old Toya is a bit more grayish versus the new Toya is a bit more mauvey pinky. So take a look right there. Those are the comparisons I wanted to make. I don't think you need me to sit here at the end of the video to tell you that I love this new Minka palette from Adept Cosmetics because I have been expressing my love for it since the video started. Do I recommend it? 100%. I feel like this is probably going to be a top 2025 palette. I can tell you that, and it's January, okay? Check back at the end of the year because I just feel like it's going to be a very hard palette to top. This palette is going to be extremely difficult to top. It is a color story that I love. It has shimmers and shifty shades and glittery shades that I love, and the formula is excellent. It's going to be a very hard to top palette. I'm calling it a 2025 favorite, and it is January. Don't forget, if you are shopping for it, to use my code PATTY10 to save 10% off of your purchase. And that is all I have for today's video. If you guys liked it, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up before you leave. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I hope you guys liked today's looks, by the way. Let me know which one was your favorite. I think I'm going with look number 2. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.